Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, I've got something a little different for you today. I've always been the kind of person who didn't believe in ghosts. To be honest, I used to think anyone who claimed to have seen one was either pulling my leg or just let their imagination run wild. After all, how could something as massive as a ghost go unnoticed for so long? I mean, if they were real, surely we'd have solid proof by now, right? But let me tell you, that all changed the night I encountered something that completely shattered my skepticism. And looking back, it's like I'm still not sure what happened. Let me walk you through it. The setup. It all started when I moved into a new apartment. A small, one-bedroom in an older building. The kind that has a lot of character, but also the kind where you're more likely to hear creaks in the floorboards than in a newer building. Now, I'm not one of those people who's overly cautious. I mean, yeah, the building was a bit old, but it was in a great neighborhood and the rent was reasonable. I had just finished unpacking my things when I began to notice little things. At first it was harmless, some sounds I couldn't quite place. A knock from somewhere, a door creaking, but nothing that would have made me think ghosts. Just the sounds of an old building settling, right? I mean, buildings make noise all the time. But then things started to get a little weird. The first incident. It started with the lights. One night, I was in the living room, watching TV. I remember it so clearly because I was just settling in for a long night of binge-watching my favorite show. The lights flickered once or twice, but again, I didn't think much of it. A little electrical issue, maybe? But then they started flickering more frequently. Eventually, they just went out entirely. I figured it was a breaker, so I got up, went to the fuse box, but everything was fine. All the switches were in the right positions. I went back to the living room, but I didn't get far. As soon as I stepped into the hallway, I felt this cold rush of air. Like, you know when you open a freezer door and that cold air hits you in the face? That kind of chill. But there wasn't any open window or vent. Nothing that should have explained it. And for a second I just stood there, thinking, okay, maybe I'm just tired. I've been unpacking all day. I probably just need some sleep. But I didn't go to bed that night. I stayed up and waited for the lights to come back on. And after about an hour, they did. The strange noises. The next night I went to bed like usual. But that's when the noises really started. At first it was faint, scratching sounds. Almost like someone was tapping on the walls, but not in a way that made sense. Not like a neighbor. It was soft, rhythmic, and it came from different directions. Sometimes it sounded like it was coming from inside the walls. Other times it felt like it was just outside my window. I tried to ignore it honestly. I kept thinking, it's probably the pipes or the wind. Just the wind. But it kept happening every night. It was never the same though. One night, I woke up to something heavy, thumping against the floor in the hallway. I was frozen. My heart was racing. And I thought someone had broken in, but when I went to check, nothing. Just silence. The third night was when it happened. In the middle of the night, to the sound of someone whispering my name. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but the whispering got louder and more distinct. Hey, over here. I thought it was a joke, so I rolled over, expecting maybe a roommate or a friend playing some prank. But then, I remembered I didn't have a roommate, and I hadn't seen anyone else in the apartment all day. I sat up in bed and that's when I saw it. A figure, just a shape, really. standing in the doorway of my bedroom. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, maybe just my eyes playing games in the dark. But no, it was there. It was tall, shadowy, with no real discernible features. Just this dark silhouette. My blood ran cold, and I don't know why, but I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I just watched as this thing stood there, almost like it was studying me. I kept blinking, hoping it was a hallucination, but it didn't go away. It just stood there, and then it vanished. I mean, it just faded into the air, like someone had pulled the plug on it. I was left in complete silence. I couldn't even comprehend what had just happened. The investigation. The next morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I told myself I was just exhausted, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But then I started Googling the building. Just to check out its history. Turns out, it had a reputation. An old urban legend about a woman who used to live there decades ago. She had been a tenant in the building for years, but one day, she disappeared without a trace. No one ever found out what happened to her. Some people said she died in the building. Others said she was just lost in time. I didn't put too much stock in the legend. But then I found something else. A note in a building's maintenance log, dating back a few months before I moved in. It was a comment about strange occurrences and unexpected power issues. The kind of things that couldn't be explained by faulty wiring. After that, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to know what was happening in that apartment. I wasn't sure if I was being paranoid or if something else was going on, but I started documenting everything. I kept a journal, took photos, and even recorded audio at night. The final encounter. I won't drag this out too long, but here's the part that really blew my mind. One night, I set up my camera to record while I slept. I had to know if I was imagining things. Around 3 a.m., the footage shows the door to my bedroom opening slowly, and that same shadowy figure steps in. The thing is, this time, I saw something different. This time, it was looking directly at the camera, almost like it knew I was recording. And then, it smiled. I don't know what to make of it. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe it was some kind of weird hallucination. But I can't explain it. And after that night, I didn't stay in that apartment for much longer. I couldn't. Outro. I'm not sure if you believe in ghosts or not, but after what I saw, I can't pretend it didn't happen. It's one thing to read about these kinds of stories, but when they happen to you, it changes everything. So, have any of you ever had a strange experience like this? Or maybe you've lived in an old building with a creepy history. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And, as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more creepy stories. Thanks for listening and stay safe out there. This version adds more detail, tension, and reflection on the events to extend the story and give it a deeper sense of suspense